You see certain people getting smiled at, helped everywhere they go, given endless opportunities, and you think, of course it's easy for them, they're hot. But here's what most people miss. Hot isn't reality. It's perception, formed automatically in the brain long before anyone knows anything about you. Attractiveness isn't something you are, it's a response you evoke in others. In this video, I'll break down 3 psychological principles that will make you instantly more attractive, explaining the exact order the brain perceives attraction, which science actually shows has little to do with looks alone. Let's get into it. Principle 1. Attractiveness starts in the primitive brain. When we first see someone, our brain doesn't analyze who they are. It doesn't try to figure out their personality or values. It reacts. That reaction comes from the primitive brain, the system designed to make fast emotional decisions, and it looks for attractiveness cues. Those cues fall into 2 categories. The first are static cues, physical traits like youth, symmetry, and proportions. These matter, but they're fixed. Once the brain registers them, it has all the information it's going to get. There's nothing left to anticipate. The second category is dynamic cues, signals expressed through body language, and these are far more powerful than people realize. Because unlike static cues, they're emotional and constantly unfolding. Posture, pace, eye contact, tone of voice, they create your energy. And they don't just say, this looks good. They say, this feels good. Safe, confident, open, rewarding. And here's why that matters. The brain prioritizes emotional information over static visuals. Surface appeal can catch attention, but warmth, confidence, and presence create anticipation. And anticipation is what drives pursuit. A beautiful face is like a still photo. Body language is like a moving scene. The photo is registered instantly. The scene keeps unfolding. That's why physical perfection alone doesn't sustain attraction. If the emotional signal turns negative through tension, bitterness, or closed energy, the brain disengages. The spark drops. And on the other side, you can lack conventionally impressive traits and still create attraction quickly. If you stand tall, not tense. If your presence feels warm, those cues generate positive emotion in others, and that emotional response is the spark. But here's the limitation. This only explains how attraction starts. Dopamine from first impressions is short-lived. Surface beauty can be noticed, but on its own, it's forgettable. Another one appears and the brain replaces it just as easily. A put-together person with open, positive body language does more than get noticed. They invite interaction. They trigger pursuit. But that still isn't enough to become imprinted in someone's mind. And that's why we need the second principle. Principle 2. Contrast creates focus. First impressions can ignite interest, but interest alone isn't the same as focus. So the real question is this: what keeps the spark going? And more than that, what makes your brain start focusing only on you? The brain isn't drawn to what it fully understands. It's drawn to what it hasn't solved yet. If someone is instantly obvious, the brain gets bored. They're easy to categorize. If someone is slightly unexpected, the brain wakes up. It can't put them in a box. They think, I thought I had you figured out, but I don't. That moment is where curiosity turns into focus. Contrast is when you can't be reduced to one label, and this is what it actually looks like. Feminine, but independent. Strong, but warm. Composed, but playful. Not contradiction, depth. Different sides existing at the same time. With contrast, you occupy space in someone's mind, and the more their thoughts return to you, the more their imagination takes over, and imagination amplifies attraction. That moment matters, because it triggers dopamine, and dopamine fuels pursuit. It's what makes someone replay the interaction, think about you later, wonder what else there is. This is the difference between being nice to look at and being mentally engaging. And this isn't about pretending to be mysterious or becoming someone else. If you're not hyper-feminine, don't cosplay femininity. Don't play hard to get just to seem independent. If you're not that person, don't perform it. The goal isn't performance, it's amplification. Let the real different sides of you exist at the same time. That's what makes people want more. But there's still something that can pull you out of their imagination and snap everything back into reality. And it's usually something people don't realize they're doing. Which brings us to the third principle. Principle 3. Insecurity triggers evaluation. If you clicked on this video, you probably want to be more attractive. That's normal. Wanting to be desired, chosen, appealing, that's human. The problem isn't wanting to be attractive. The problem is leading with that desire. Because the moment you lead with, I don't like this about myself, I hope this doesn't turn you off, I'm worried how I'm coming across, you've already changed the dynamic. And when you lead with insecurity, you're not just feeling uncertain, you're asking the other person to evaluate you. But that's only part of the problem. The other problem is emotional. Leading with insecurity doesn't create warmth, it creates unease. It puts the other person in an awkward position. They feel tension, discomfort. They're not sure how to respond or reassure you. So instead of inspiring positive emotion, you're generating negative emotional signals. And attraction doesn't grow in that environment. That's why insecurity collapses attraction. But there's an important distinction here. Insecurity is not the same as vulnerability. Vulnerability is something you've accepted about yourself. Insecurity is something you're still trying to soothe externally. You can be vulnerable and attractive. You can talk about struggles. You can be honest. You can be human. Vulnerability creates connection. Insecurity creates discomfort because it asks the other person to manage your emotions instead of simply experience you. Confident people don't pretend to be perfect. They just don't drag attention back to their flaws. They don't over-explain. They don't apologize for every small thing. They don't force reality too soon. They allow the other person's mind to wander. They're a presence that doesn't ask to be evaluated or managed. Hot isn't about being flawless. It's about being interesting to the nervous system, where attraction is detected, then amplified, then either sustained or collapsed. If this resonated, let me know in the comments what topics you'd like to see next. This is what we explore here on Skinniest Latte, the place where we wake up, sip up, level up.